I do want to introduce to you the conductor for the ensemble this morning. The conductor with the group will be Lieutenant Haley Armstrong. She will be participating. If we could give her a round of applause. As I mentioned, hopefully you've had an opportunity to meet Colonel Graham. All of his biographical information is in the program. So without further ado, Colonel Graham.
We'll try this, yeah, it works. Try this electronic stuff here. First of all, I think we need to give this ensemble a round of applause for the wonderful job last night. And Lieutenant Armstrong. You know, having the opportunity to hear music and to evaluate it in a live situation with a professional ensemble is very valid and very important. And so we want to make sure that we maximize their time. And so we are very fortunate to have them here. We as band people are always looking for the new, and that's wonderful. And that's why composers today love writing for the wind band medium. This business about what's the newest novel, what's the newest movie, etc., we're always on the front edge of that, and therefore we're always trying to find out what's new. In the process, however, I don't think we do a good job of looking back at our core repertoire that's so very, very valid, and that we need to revisit that and use it like as part of a wheel. You know, it has to be in balance. Spokes have to be there so that this wheel will move without thumping down the street. And therefore, programming is incredibly important. I do want to talk just a little bit about programming and what we're going to do today. Programming from a mentor of mine, Lawrence Odom, was very simple. He said, you know, good music will always sell. You don't have to dumb down programs, but that does not mean that you can't enjoy and play music that's fun. You know, you don't want to just go to a concert and just sit and hear the heaviest stuff all the time. It's like going to a good meal. You know, you want to have a little appetizer, you want to have a nice little salad, you want to have a little sorbet to clean the palate, you want to have, you know, the meat on, or whatever it is if you're a carnivore like me, and you want to have something that's good, some potatoes, you know, and some veggies, you know, and then you want to have a nice dessert, you want to have an after-dinner drink. It's not all steak. That's what you have to remember. It's not all steak. And sometimes we get into this process of it's got to only be the masters. I don't know what the masters are, but to quote Duke Ellington, there's only two kinds of music, good and bad. You know, that's all there is. There is no more. And so we're going to try to revisit some of these gems. When Monty called me and said, I'd like you to do a couple of sessions, I said, okay, what? And so he suggested this, and I thought, well, you know, that's pretty important. That's pretty cool. So I started just jotting down things that I hadn't revisited in a long time. And some of these gems I know you have played, I know you've heard, but it's nice to revisit, because sometimes when you revisit and you take another look at things, you go, you know, that's a pretty good piece. I like that. Now, I'm going to refer also back to Colonel Bourgeois yesterday, and I'm going to foot stomp what he said. I'm going to paraphrase it because I can't say it as well as he. But we need to be careful about the cliches in band music. The cliches. You know, band music is starting often to get into this, it's written for band, and therefore I need to have the drum break, I need to have the humming, I need to have the obligatory singing. You know, I need to have the obligatory foot tap. I need to have the obligatory play louder and higher and faster than anybody else on the planet and stretch the ensemble's limits, and away you go. We need to be cautious about that. I will never forget one lunch I had with Václav Nelibel, and it was when he was going to write the Second Symphony. And he made a comment which, on hindsight, kind of is amusing. He says, no tricks, just music. No tricks, just music. Wow. And of course, at that time, you know, he was doing things that we in the wind band world had never heard of. You know, and now it's passé. And now we go back and we look at some of those pieces and we go, wow, Have you revisited Tritico lately? Go back and do that. Wow. You're going to go, that's a pretty darn good piece of music. So the pieces that I have pulled out of the 286 brain here, they're not the Holy Grail. Trust me. I am sure that each of you could come up with equally as fine of a list. Also, I have to apologize to those of you that teach in middle school. This list is more geared toward high school, and I apologize right up front, but I hope that as we go through this, it will be of some value to you. Now, this is with my recollection in history, but I also need to say that this process goes on all the time. We were fortunate enough at UTEP to receive a Shriners library, and it's not a typical Shriners band library. And we have pieces in there that go back, band pieces that are dedicated for the World Tour of Sousa that go back into the 1880s, band pieces. So we're going to do the same process back at UTEP as we're going through here. So it's a never-ending process to find those gems. Okay, now this little nice meal that we're going to have, I think it's appropriate to have diversity. Is there always a formula to programming? No, there's no formula to programming, but there are certain things that do work. First of all, get the attention of the audience. How do you do that? A fanfare is a pretty good thing. A march is a pretty good thing. Or an overture is a pretty good thing. You know, but don't start out with something that's ooh, 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 ooh. Your audience is going to walk away. Okay, and then contrast. If you play something loud and fast, contrast it with something slow. You know, don't all just have a complete program of heavy-hitting stuff to where you feel like you're a punching bag when you get through with the program. And also, one very, very important lesson that I learned. Before intermission or before you end the program, make sure the piece is loud and fast. I know I should be more academic in that approach, but that's the way it is. Why? Because you don't want Ida, Hazel, and Mary, and Helen to get up and go, I'm gone, right? You want them to go, wow, I want to see what's coming back. Now, I made that programming problem when I was conducting the Air Force Orchestra in strings, and I programmed the string movement to the Vaughan Williams Symphony right before intermission. That's the 8th Symphony. It's really cool. It's full orchestra, winds, strings, etc. And back to full orchestra. That was not very good. My applause was... So, little things like that I learned. Okay, we're going to start with a couple of fanfares here. The fanfare and out of this list of forgotten classics, we have selected some pieces here that we're going to do. Now, you're going to hear the fanfare of Hugo Montenegro. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you would please show us how we're going to open up a program, how we could open up a program. We're doing excerpts. Now that'll get your blood going. That will. And that can really get into a hard song. Ba-da, ba-da-da. That thing can really get going and rocking. So have some fun with that when you do that, or if you do that. It's great for an outside concert, and folks really kind of love it. It's full bore, full throat, and it's a lot of fun. But never has that fanfare failed to put a smile on people's faces when we've performed that. So I share that with you.